If you were a British child between the years of the 1980s to the 2000s, you will definitely remember CITV with fondness. CITV was a children's channel owned by British TV channel ITV. It offered entertainment for kids in the age group of around 6 to 12, and in this video, in the hindsight of the channel's closure earlier this year, I'd like to take a little look back on this icon of yesteryear. CITV originally started as children's ITV on the 3rd of January 1983, as a late afternoon block on ITV, having replaced the Watch It block. In 2006, ITV launched CITV on Freeview TV, meaning it was free for all those with a TV and a TV licence. The channel broadcasted TV from CITV's archive between the hours of 6 AM to 9 PM, with an average of around 100,000 viewers between the hours of 4 to 6 PM daily. Throughout the day, it held an average of 30,000 viewers concurrently. Some history set up, I'd like to now take a little look back on some of the shows broadcast on CITV. Sooty was a show featuring a yellow bear puppet who got up to hijinks, the most famous of which being squirting people with a small water pistol. I don't remember too much of Sooty as I just didn't watch it all that much, but I do recall it being played before school, and it was definitely a staple of that area of programming. Art Attack was a TV show with a similar demographic to that of Sooty. The show featured a presenter doing crafts and teaching the child audience how to do them too. Not too dislike the other British arts and crafts show, Mr. Maker, over on CBeebies. I remember doing a few of the crafts actually shown on here. Because of that, I have proof that Art Attack was actually really good at getting its audience to go and be creative and do something cool, and that has to be admired. Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids was a show that combined both stop motion with clay and 2D traditional animation to tell disgusting stories, a significant handful of which ended with Vor from what I can remember. That's very weird actually, 2 videos in a row where I mentioned Vor. I wonder if I can go for a hat trick with the next one. This was definitely aimed at boys, going for that gross out factor, but my sister enjoyed it as much as I did. In recent times, as I reflect on Grizzly Tales, I can't help but feel that it would feel right at home on Adult Swim if they just upped the ante with how crazy they went with the stories. Given that the show ended in 2006, a revival nowadays wouldn't feel rushed and would probably be pretty cool. Horrid Henry is one of the more well-known shows that originated on CITV, featuring a young boy, Henry, getting up to schemes and being, well, horrid. It's a staple of British culture, becoming so popular they even spawned a live-action movie, which was actually a really faithful adaptation of the cartoon, and was pretty good from what I remember. Then again, my last rewatch was in year 8 with my friends, so maybe my memory's playing tricks on me. Almost Naked Animals was a show about a hotel run by, well, Almost Naked Animals. The show followed an episodic structure in which Howie the dog would cause problems that the other animals would need to solve. I remember enjoying this one as a kid. Well, more I remember enjoying Duck, but nowadays, I don't think it would be anywhere near as enjoyable for me. Maybe that's because I'm 17, or maybe it's just because I realised how shit the show was. Jungle Run was a horrific game show that gave me nightmares as a child, and because of that, to this day, I hold deep disdain for it. Okay, I think I went a bit overboard there, maybe we need to go back. The concept of the game show was that 2 teams of kids would look for small silver monkey statues while competing in challenges in a volcano set. If they got enough silver monkey statues, they'd earn a red one, which would mean they won. The winning teams of kids actually wanted pretty sick shit, from Game Boy Advances to video cameras, and I remember being pretty envious of them back when I was a child. So, sounds like a pretty cool game show, right? Well, how comes I hated it? The horrors. That's why. But, what are the horrors? Well, the horrors are the 2 monkey mascots that would feature in the show. They would throw things at the children while they competed in the games in an attempt to try and put them off. And I mean, just look at these guys. Truly fucking horrifying. Even now, as I record the narration for this video, I feel off, I feel uncomfortable. I never watched Jungle Run at home, mostly because the mascots made me want to run into a corner and cry, but it was always on at my great-nan's, because she'd put it on for me and I never had the heart to tell her I hated it, or that it kind of scared me. Due to my hatred for Jungle Run, I tuned into the other game show on CITV a lot more, that being Fort Boyard Ultimate Challenge. In Fort Boyard, 6 groups of teenagers competed in physical challenges against each other to be crowned Conquerors of the Fort. This one seemed a lot more fun to me and a whole lot less scary. Because of this, it quickly joined the shortlist of game shows I wanted to go on, but never would, right next to Total Wipeout. Mr. Bean, the animated series, took the original version of Rowan Atkinson's iconic TV sitcom of the same name, which followed Bean in his antics and he inadvertently caused mayhem through his stupidity, and adapted it to a 2D animated style. They used to play this one a lot in the mid-2010s. That's all I can really remember about it. I'd love to tell you more, but well, it's Mr. Bean, there's not a lot to say. Dino Dan was a show about a kid named Dan who had the ability to interact with dinosaurs in the modern day. I remember enjoying this one a lot, and it actually being pretty educational. Eventually though, the kid who played Dan became too old, and Dan's brother in the show took over. Then he became too old, and a girl named Dana took over, and a sequel series called Dino was released. Now, Dana's too old, and in July of 2023, a sequel to that called Dino Dex was announced. The Dino Dan franchise is a lot like cockroaches. Try as you might, you just can't fucking kill it. Despite how long it went on for, all the spin-offs were definitely warranted in my eyes, as I enjoyed all of them to some degree. My Phone Genie was a show about a girl named Jasmine Hart who had a genie in her phone, aptly named Jean. I'd love to tell you how he gets him and more about the show, but unlike other shows I've mentioned, I could barely find any footage of My Phone Genie, and my memory is seriously faltering with this one. About 5 minutes of it exists on YouTube, and I'm not quite willing to drop £32 on a German DVD of it, especially considering said DVD only contains half the show, and I can't tell if it has English dub. Maybe one day I'll grow brain dead enough to make that stupid financial decision, but for now, this small section of this video will have to suffice for you. Now to my favourite CITV show, and arguably the most iconic one of all. That being My Parents Are Aliens. This show aired all the time in the late 90s and early 2000s, specifically in the evening. The show followed two aliens named Brian and Sophie Johnson, who give three orphans, Josh, Lucy and Mel, a home. This one was just a feel-good show for me, and it was pretty funny. I rewatched some of all these shows, or as much as I actually could in the case of My Phone Genie, ready for this video, and I've got to say, My Parents Are Aliens is the one that holds up best still. A large majority of it is on YouTube for free, and I strongly urge you to go watch some. And if you do decide to watch all of it, just try to ignore how the actress for Sophie changes. I don't care if they came up with a cool law reason for it, it still irks me. Especially because, to this day, I still can't decide whose portrayal I love more. Along with the brilliant TV shows, CITV was also home to many iconic adverts, including the Golden Coin Maker and Gooey Louie. I'd go over more, but I don't want to fuck this video's retention by spending 2 minutes talking about adverts. One thing I will say is that despite how often these adverts played, I never knew anyone who actually owned any of the products. So, I ask you, the audience, did you ever own anything advertised on CITV? If so, tell me in the comments. Please, I really need the engagement. So, CITV had great shows and iconic adverts, but it's still shut down. Why? Well, short answer, the internet came about, and with it, so did streaming services and YouTube, which became the main source of entertainment for everyone. Not only did CITV take a huge hit from this, so did all of TV itself. But that's not the only reason for CITV's decline. The main one I'd argue is that CITV opted to acquire the licenses to Be Cool Scooby-Doo and that horrible Ben 10 remake, as well as many other US shows. These subpar US shows just didn't quite hit a chord with British audiences like the old original content did, and thus viewership just wasn't quite the same. Unfortunately, CITV never did realise this mistake, and instead kept pumping the channel with poor quality slop, which in turn degraded the channel's reputation even more and led to even less viewers. This vicious cycle continued all the way up until September 1st, 2023, where one final message was displayed on the CITV channel.
The last thing I want to do is brag. So, I know funny. And if it's not funny, not interested.
We still need that.
CITV is closed, and all the funny stuff and more is now on ITVX.
Anytime you need help, just call us.
Now that's funny. Come on, that's not funny. ITVX, the UK's freshest kids streaming service.
So that's how CITV went out. Not with a blaze of glory playing all their old classics and celebrating what made the channel so iconic, but instead a soft scared whimper into the ages. Now CITV's programming lives on through ITV's streaming service ITVX via the ITVX Kids section of the service, and only plays the new stuff, which means it's not going to attract anything more than brain dead 4-year-olds. Not only that, but ITVX Kids has an infinitely shitter logo than any CITV logo that's ever been made. It's quite literally you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about. Even that simplified redesigned CITV logo is better than this shit. Nonetheless, ITVX Kids marks the death of CITV, and it's not all too surprising if you ask me. ITV has been promoting ITVX non-stop over the last year, and it's shocking CITV wasn't shut down any sooner, considering how it just went down in quality and viewership. I can't help but wonder if ITV's other channels, ITV2, ITV3 and ITV4, and their respective Plus One channels will succumb to the same fate, maybe just the OG ITV on the air. We'll just have to wait and find out. But let's forget all that for now, and just remember CITV. With a hearty life from 1983 to 2023, it carved out quite the legacy for itself over the last 30 years, and will definitely be remembered fondly by the British public for years to come.